today we're going to talk about the history of MPNs and when they were first described by doctors, and maybe a little history of the microscope. We'll see how it goes. Like a quick info dump about microscopes and like the innovation that allowed for the scientists and doctors of the day to be able to see these new things. Because up until about, I think it's like the end of the 16th century, you could use a microscope, like you could look at it and you could see some stuff, but it wasn't as detailed as after the innovation in the 17th century. And I might do an episode just about microscopes and the history of them, because it's kind of cool. They went from maybe being able to see like blood, being able to differentiate between blood and meat, and then like the other parts of the body. And then after they were able to see the blood and all the different cells and pieces that make up blood. And so by 1845, microscopes had gotten to the point where they were able to note the different blood cell types. In 1845, John Hughes first describes chronic myeloid leukemia. And then in 1879, Gustav Heuck, Heuck, describes primary myeloid fibrosis. And he was actually able to distinguish the features between PMF and CML. So he was able to say, like, these are two different things because, this looks, you can tell, like, it's visibly different. And then in 1892, Louis Henry, I don't know, he's French, Vaquez, Vaquez, first describes polycythemia vera, and he is actually able to distinguish PV, like an MPN PV, from a PV caused by like a relative PV and secondary PV. I wish I could speak today. That'd be awesome. And then in 1934, Emil Epstein and Alfred Goedel, Goedel, describe essential thrombocythemia. So let's just circle back to the history of microscopes for a second, because I'm a history nerd and I watch history documentaries for fun. But I mean, they went from maybe kind of being able to see something to be able to look at the same thing they were looking at, like, 200 years before. Be able to say, not only is there a bunch of different types of stuff in this liquid, but some of them have issues. Like, I can see the difference. This one is obviously CML. This one's PMF. Like, this PV is caused by this or this or this. And it's just, it's crazy to me how quickly, like, technology and science can just, like, move once you have, like, that one piece that's been missing. And then it's just, like, boom. We've got it. We know what to do. Look at this stuff. And then, I'm trying to decide if I want to do a separate episode for the mutations or not. Just because there's so much information in each of them. And then, like, with the different tests that they had to do and all of that, I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. I want to be able to better explain what I'm talking about. But, I've got 2 things written down that I think were kind of cool. Between 1967 and 1981, Philip Fialkow, Fialkow, he did a series of tests that established that all classic MPNs are clonal stem diseases. So, now, if we circle back, William Dameshek, he's the one that's like, okay, we have all of these different diseases that have been discovered, and we can differentiate between them. We can even differentiate between them and similar things. Like, we know that, no, these aren't caused by other sources, they're caused by this. And so he's the one who, like, groups them and then calls them, myeloproliferative, and I think at the time, diseases. Because the neoplasm part is only like a few years old. Philip, he's able to say that they're clonal stem diseases. So, and then in 1960, Peter Nowell, Nowell, and David Hungerford discovered the Philadelphia chromosome and its presence in patients with CML. So, in like the 1960s, they're starting to figure out the chromosomes and the mutations, which I'm totally going to do a different episode, just because it gets a little dense. To me, anyways. To me, it gets a little dense. To other people, it might not be. So, but, yeah. And I'm going to do, I can't remember if I said earlier in the episode or not, but, I'm going to do some quick episodes of each of the different scientists that, I talked about in this episode, just so that we can kind of get more background and just more information, because without them, we wouldn't have our diagnosis and we wouldn't know what was going on. So, thanks, guys. So, hang on. I'm going to do an ad, and then I'm going to do an update for why it took me so long to do this episode. So, thanks for listening.